Welcome back to Barely Keto. I'm Carl. Turned cold up here in the Northeast, so I wanted something warm and spicy. So I thought I'd give something new a try from the Indian palate, and I made spicy curried cauliflower wraps. Let's get started. This is a stovetop episode. I'm basically straddling the camera stand for this one. I've got 2 tablespoons of ghee melted in the pan here, and then we're going to add in, I think it's 1/3 of a cup, and the recipe will be up on the Google Drive, of some fresh minced ginger, and you want to get that in there. And then I strained a can of mild green chilies, and that's 1/3 of a cup of the green chilies. And you're going to put those together and just let that bloom in the pan. You want to give a good stir of that, and then we're going to add in the diced tomato. The recipe calls for it to, caramelize together, but I didn't see any caramelization happening, so you just want to make sure it's well mixed. Then we're going to add in the spices, depending on which one you could find. This is the garam masala, and that did sort of suck up a lot of the liquid, so that was good. So you just want to give that a good stir to combine everything before you go on to the next step, which is to toss in 4 cups of cauliflower florets. Now this took a while to stir, so I was starting with a wooden spoon, but then I realized I need to get some lift so that I can turn that stuff over. So I switched to my batter spatula. The total time on the stove for this is about 20 minutes, and getting it all set up is really important with getting the florets coated with your spices. And then that's some chicken stock, and you can use vegetable stock. This would be a really good meatless dish, actually. So I had to come back and stir it maybe, I want to say every 5 minutes or so, just to keep on top of it. And this is all done over medium-high heat. I was a little worried, this is the first time I made this, I was a little worried at how soupy that was. But you'll see by the end, everything has completely tightened up, which is good again, because it's going to be a handheld thing for me anyway. And then that is some diced parsley. Now it calls for cilantro, but I'm one of those people that does not like the taste of cilantro. It tastes like poison to me, so I use parsley, but you can go either way. And then we're just going to come over to the other side of the kitchen. Steamy and delicious. It did smell fantastic. And I was a little unsure, honestly, about how all this was going to come together. There's salt in the yogurt, which I found a little interesting, and I'll talk about that after the credits. And I just couldn't, in my head, really see how all this was going to go well together. And then that's some shredded chicken that I had on hand from an earlier prep day over the winter, and I had just vacuum sealed it and frozen it. And again, the original recipe called for burrito size. I just thought that was too much. So these are tortilla size, sort of like, I guess, the 6 to 8 inch soft taco shells. And this is the Mission Low Carb. And you just fold it and you're good to go. I found this recipe in the Canyon Ranch Nourish cookbook. And I had a bunch of cauliflower that I needed to get rid of before it turned bad. And I thought, what the heck? It's gotten cold. I like the Indian palate. I didn't know that spice that it called for, and then ultimately couldn't find it, which is how I ended up landing on the garam masala. If you can't find the spice that's in the recipe and you do use the garam masala, I would suggest adding about a teaspoon of turmeric, or however you say it. I didn't, and so it came out with that kind of bland brown color, and I think if you added just a teaspoon of the turmeric, you'd end up with a nice yellow golden product in the end, and I think that would certainly look better. They had suggested doing florets, so I cut it up in florets, but I would definitely mince it next time. It just, as you saw when I went to wrap it, it was a bit cumbersome, so if you cut the florets smaller, I think you'll find it's a lot easier to then turn them into the little burritos. What else? I guess I am a pretentious snob because I'm all in on the ghee now. It's expensive, but unlike butter, since it's already been clarified, you can just keep cooking in it on the stove, especially at the medium-high heat range, and you're not going to have it turn brown or turn on you at all, and it gives a nice under palate to everything that you're cooking. I was originally going to use avocado oil, and I'm glad I went with the ghee because it did give it a little more flavor underneath, which I thought was good. And then the recipe calls for putting some salt in with the yogurt. Um, I use the Fage yogurt. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce that or not, Fage, because it's the thickest one I'm aware of. It's even thicker than a lot of the Greek yogurts. And I wanted something that wasn't going to just drip out the end of the burrito once I started eating it. The salt did nothing except make it salty. So at first I thought maybe there'd be some kind of special chemical reaction that, I thought, what the hell, let's give it a go. But all it did was make the yogurt salty. Now, having said all that, I didn't think these things were going to go well together. And I'm pretty good at putting different kinds of spices together in my head and knowing what it's going to taste like. And I was skeptical, but in the end, it's really good. I'm glad I made it. The chicken made a nice touch. The first question that Jim asked when I told him I was going to make this was, is there any meat in it? So you could make this meatless, or you could add some shredded chicken like I did. I had that on hand from an earlier prep Sunday where I vacuum sealed it and put it in the freezer. But you could just as easily buy a roasted chicken from the store and shred about maybe half of it, if that, and use that in there. And that'll give it a little more fat as well, so it'll be even more satisfying. So it's a keeper. It's going in the books, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks so much. See you next time.